What's up? What's up? What's up, sixth graders? Hey, this is Mr. Huffman here. We're going to try something new today. As you guys know, I got some new microphones, and hopefully we have some more coming in. And I wanted to go ahead and actually try to use these and see how it works out. It's something new. It might be a big flop, and it might be the most awesome thing that we've ever done. So you guys are the guinea pigs. We're going to give it a shot today, okay? I'm going to record my lecture and record my presentation here for you. You'll be watching this today and taking notes. I feel like this method will be great for anybody that is a little bit slower when they're taking notes, because at any time you can pause the video and get caught back up. So this is great. It allows you to set your own pace. I'm going to try to do this in just one big take, so let's go ahead and give this a shot. What I'd like you to do is to get your notebook out and go ahead and title your notes today, From Republic to Empire. From Republic to Empire. Now, we've been talking about Julius Caesar and how Julius Caesar has declared himself dictator for life. And the senators of Rome don't like this, because that means their job is pretty much obsolete and they don't have any more power. So they want things to go back to the way they were. They want the republic, where people elect representatives to represent them in government. And Julius Caesar wants to be an emperor. He wants to be a dictator for life. So that's what we're going to be talking about today, how the republic fell and it became the Roman Empire that you probably think of when you think of Rome. So here we go. Let's get started. Now, first off, think to yourself, what is a triumvirate? You don't have to write this down, okay? But what is a triumvirate? A triumvirate is a form of government, it's a form of rule where there are three men, three people in charge of everything, and they have to agree for decisions to be made. Number two here is draw a Roman invention. Obviously, we're not doing this whole class, so you can't draw a Roman invention. But if you were to draw something that Rome invented or Rome really improved on, you could think of bridges, aqueducts, domes, arches, roads, Roman roads, any of those things, any of their military weapons, so many military weapons that you watched in that video earlier this week. So anyway, any of those would work. So last time that we talked, we left off, it was actually March 15th, 44 BC. Ladies and gentlemen, we have now entered the time of history where the calendar that they used, it's a little bit different than the one that we use today in modern times, but we can calculate those differences, and we actually know specific days that a lot of things have happened. So we know that on March 15th, the Ides of March, if you'll remember from the earlier lecture, 44 BC, Julius Caesar is assassinated. The senators, once again, wanted to get rid of Julius Caesar, so they tricked him into coming to the Senate. They said, hey, Julius Caesar, why don't you come down to the Senate? We want to give you an award, congratulate you on how awesome you are. And Julius Caesar, being completely egotistical, says, of course, guys, yes, I'm going to show up. If you're going to give me an award, obviously I want to be there for that. So he's down there, and a bunch of the senators are patting him on the back, saying, yeah, Julius Caesar, you're awesome, you're awesome, you're awesome. And 23 of them pull out knives, and they each take a stab at him. They do this so that they're equally guilty. And they leave him bleeding to death on the floor of the Senate. Now, in their minds, they were thinking, the dictator's dead. We can now go back to the way things were. We can go back to the republic that we used to have. The only problem with this is that Julius Caesar is the most famous person in Rome. He's like a superstar. Okay, um, and the people don't like it. Julius Caesar has, lots of men around him and his government that really support him, and yeah, so it doesn't work out the way that they thought that it was going to. So the people that stabbed Julius Caesar, these 23 assassins, they run away. They're trying to get out of Rome as fast as they can, and they want to go to Greece. Macedonia is like northern Greece, and kind of gather some forces and stuff in case things start to get crazy. That's when the second triumvirate forms in Rome. Okay, so the second triumvirate consists of Mark Antony. You remember last lesson, Caesar said, "This is Mark Antony. He's my right-hand man. Um, like he's my go-to guy. He's the vice dictator." Then you have Marcus Lepidus and Octavian, which is actually Caesar's adopted son. Okay, now at this time in Rome, if you were to adopt somebody, if you were to say, "Hey, I'm going to adopt you," legally, they are considered your flesh and blood. So if I was to adopt somebody right now and I was to die, all of my things would go to them legally. Okay, and this is going to cause a little power struggle later because Mark Antony was like the vice dictator, but Octavian is Caesar's adopted son. Who should get the power? That's the question. So, if you would, go ahead, take a second, write the second triumvirate, and sketch this little pyramid, this little triangle down. You don't have to make it very large, okay? Just a little sketch of Mark Antony, Marcus Lepidus, and Octavian, okay? So take a second and do that. All right, getting ready to move on. Pause it if you need to. So now happens the Battle of Philippi. This is 42 BC. That's 2 years after Julius Caesar gets assassinated. So the assassins have gone to Greece and they've had time to kind of get all their affairs in order. And the second triumvirate comes and kicks their butt. All right, they win. No questions asked, hands down. Now, while this is happening, Marcus Lepidus sees that this is his opportunity to kind of, while things are a little bit crazy, to step up and try to take some power. Okay, you see here it says usurp. That's what that means. Usurp means you're going to overstep somebody and take their position, and that doesn't go over well. And he ends up getting exiled out of Rome. He gets kicked out of Rome. So now, if you remember last time when the triumvirate turned into two, nothing good came of that. Same thing happens with this second triumvirate. It turns into a dynamic duo of Mark Antony and Octavian. Both of these guys have legitimate claims to be the next dictator of Rome. Mark Antony, Caesar specifically said, "This is Mark Antony. He's my right-hand man. He's like the vice dictator. You need to listen to him. He's my number 2 guy." Octavian, on the other hand, says, "I'm Caesar's adopted son. When he dies, it should be mine." Like you would think of a king dying. Well, then the prince would become king. That's what Octavian is thinking. So, do you think a triumvirate is an effective way to run a country? Yes or no? There's not really a right answer. I guess you could say. You could argue either way. The 2 examples that we've given you here did not work out very well. So there is that. And here comes the drama. I told you last time that the Julius Caesar Cleopatra drama was just the beginning. Well, here's part two of that soap opera drama that we were talking about. Cleopatra, when she was seducing Julius Caesar, became pregnant, and she has a son, Caesarion. Okay, so technically, he's both a Roman emperor and Pharaoh of Egypt. He has claims to both of these things. He's Julius Caesar's son, so he should become Roman emperor. He's Cleopatra's son, so if she was to go, he would be Pharaoh of Egypt. That's a pretty big thing. So Mark Antony, on the other hand, falls oops, sorry about that. Mark Antony falls in love with Cleopatra. Now, I told you, I don't know what Cleopatra's deal was, but when she tried to make a man love her, they did. I, I don't know what she did. I don't know anything about that. All I know is that these dudes fall in love with Cleopatra. Mark Antony falls head over heels in love with her, and he actually divorces Octavian's mom. Okay? Mark Antony was Octavian's stepdad, I guess you could say. And he says, you know what? Like, Cleopatra's the love of my life. Sorry, Octavian's mom. You got to go. So, he is. I mean, I guess he was the stepdad of Caesar's son. So that would still make him next in line because Caesar's son's technically not old enough. He's still kind of a kid. He's not old enough to fully rule Rome. So Mark Antony, if Caesarion was to be emperor, Mark Antony, his stepdad, would have to rule in his place until Caesarion was old enough to actually take that job. Octavian, on the other hand, ended up having them both killed so that he would be next in line. Here's how it went down. The Battle of Actium. So it's Octavian and Mark Antony in a naval battle. He tries to flee, like, oh, this is going down. I want to run back to the love of my life, Cleopatra, and he dies in Cleopatra's arms. Octavian then goes to Egypt, and he wants to just completely wipe all of these other people that have claims to the throne out. Get them out of my way. I'm done with you. See you later. So he goes and he has Caesarion killed, making him technically then Caesar's only son. He was adopted. There are no other kids that claim to be Julius Caesar's, so that he would be the only person left, the heir to the throne. Octavian goes back to Rome, and he changes his name to Augustus Caesar. Augustus Caesar. He is the first emperor of Rome. We don't call Julius Caesar the first emperor of Rome. He was dictator, but we don't give him the emperor thing. After Julius Caesar died, the Roman Empire, the Roman Republic, completely fell apart, and it was considered an empire after that. So Octavian, or Augustus Caesar, comes out on top after the struggle, and he says, you know what? This is an empire. I'm in charge. I'm the emperor. Now, you might be asking yourself, why is there a baby holding on to the bottom of his robes? I wish I had a good answer for you. I got nothing on that, guys. It looks a little strange to me, and every time I see this, I think, dude, that's kind of weird. All right, moving on. Augustus doesn't take a monarchical, I can't say that word, a monarch type title like a king or pharaoh. Instead, he calls himself the first citizen of Rome. He's saying, We are all citizens of this great empire. I'm just the first one. I'm the best one. I'm the number one citizen. Um, he does leave the Senate around. So you could say that the Republic still exists, except he kind of just has complete control. Anytime they could still do their thing, but anytime he wanted to say no or I'm going to do this, um, it ended up happening. Okay. He does take his powers for life. There is no more 1 year term. He declares himself the supreme military commander. Okay. So, like our president of the United States is the commander of all of our armed forces. So is Augustus. Um, he declares himself tribune so that he can veto anything that he thinks is dumb, and censor, which means he gets to determine citizenship. So he can give people, hey, you're a citizen of Rome, and that gives them certain rights and privileges, or he can take that away and they don't have those protections. It would be like the president of the United States saying, all right, you are not a citizen anymore, so you don't get um, you don't have any of your constitutional rights anymore. So you can see where that's actually a really big deal. If somebody comes up um, and challenges him or says a bunch of stuff that he doesn't like, he can strip their citizenship away and they don't have those protections that they normally have through the law. Now we enter a period called the Pax Romana. The Pax Romana, the Roman peace. That is 200 years of relative peace, 27 BC to 180 AD. All the Mediterranean, the Mediterranean Sea, we've used that map in class 1,000 times. Italy's right there in the middle of it. There are no civil wars. There are no invasions. Okay? Rome does expand, so they do go and conquer other people, but there are no other peoples attacking Rome. They're just trying to defend their lands. So trade, there's new trade routes expanding out. There are new goods coming into Rome because they're going into Africa. Excuse me, into northern Africa, into Egypt, and all of that area. So they're getting lots of spices and salt is a big one. A lot of salt coming in, new textiles, things like this. And finally, everything's nice and chill in Rome. Well, sort of. Christianity does pose some problems, and we will be talking about that with our next lecture. All right, guys, thank you very much. I hope this is something that you find useful. Feel free to rewind this, go back, pause it if you need to get some information down. Please don't write all of these notes down. I don't need carbon copies of these slides. You are able to come back and watch this video as many times as you want. Okay? But don't feel like you have to get it all down. If you are able to summarize the information, that's perfect for me. So, all right. Well, make sure that your notes are nice and neat, that you're able to read them. All right. Love you guys. See ya.